Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today?
Can you back up, boss? Appreciate it.
Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today?
Mayor Karen Bass says she's investigating the decision she made to head to Ghana days before the LA fires. She also wants doctors to open her brain to find out why she's so stupid.
Greg Gutfeld just unleashed a truth bomb so massive, even Karen Bass's Wi-Fi tried to disconnect itself. 1 minute, she's delivering what looks like a polished political speech. The next, she's the unwilling star of a brutal comedy roast she never saw coming. You won't believe how fast this spiraled from official statement to absolute disaster. Think politicians can dodge accountability. Watch this dodge attempt fail spectacularly in real time. Brace yourself. Greg held absolutely nothing back this time.
Referring to a Senator Mayor Karen Bass put the gone in Ghana for the president's inauguration. A Sky News reporter confronted her about it when she finally got back, and Karen had a ton to say.
Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position?
If this content entertains you, please subscribe to the channel. It helps more than you realize. Some politicians bury their mistakes behind long speeches. Karen Bass. She buries hers behind even longer press conferences. Every single time she approaches a podium, Los Angeles collectively braces itself like someone just screamed incoming. Because at this point, every time Bass talks about fixing the city, a new scandal, tent encampment, or carjacking materializes out of thin air, like she accidentally unlocked a bonus level in a disaster simulation game.
Once again, Karen Bass talks out of her ass. Because when destruction occurs, it's everyone's fault but hers. LA Mayor Karen Bass is demanding an investigation into her trip to Ghana. The H is silent. As the LA fires erupted, a trip she made the decision to embark on. Roll it, Lance.
Although there were warnings that I frankly wasn't aware of, I think our preparation, wasn't what it typically is.
And Greg Gutfeld saw everything. He didn't just watch, he practically grabbed popcorn, took detailed notes, and said, let's talk about this circus. Because what's more entertaining than a mayor who transforms every city update into a shocking plot twist? One day it's about tackling homelessness, and the next it's about how the homelessness crisis spawned its own spin-off series called Homelessness the Sequel.
She wants to know how she ended up thousands of miles away in Africa. It seems to me like it's pretty simple. She hopped on a plane and flew there. What, did someone blindfold her, throw her in the back of a trunk, and bing, bang, boom, she ended up in Ghana? Nope, she booked a trip, and as mayor, she lives in LA where fires are a part of life. Blaming her absence on someone else is kind of like blaming your hangover on the bartender. It's all on you, Mayor Bass, which means you'll probably be governor in no time.
Karen Bass seems convinced that every problem can be solved by announcing a committee, which in Los Angeles is code for we've decided to talk about it for 5 years while the problem gets its own zip code. Gutfeld had an absolute field day pointing out how the city's solution to everything is hiring more consultants. Because nothing screams progress like paying someone 6 figures to write a report that basically says, we should do something.
Give her credit, this is an audacious play. You know, it's like OJ saying, like, we need to find the killer.
Yeah. It's like, good luck, Nancy Drew, with this mystery. How did you end up on another continent on a trip that you chose to go on? She's like, we don't know the details, but we're looking into it.
Yeah.
She also promised as a candidate not to leave the country ever as mayor. She loved to go to Africa, she said, but not anymore once I'm mayor. She listed like 5 cities she would ever go to, and that's it. And then here she is for the 4th or 5th time overseas, and this happens. And she's, I guess, so out of any other excuse or idea that she said, we're investigating ourselves.
Meanwhile, Los Angeles residents are living through real-life chaos, traffic, crime, inflation, and a mayor who acts like optimism is a legitimate policy. She keeps promising to make LA a city of the future. But nobody expected that future to look like a post-apocalyptic sci-fi film directed by whoever made Mad Max. Greg doesn't need fancy visuals visuals or deep analysis to expose what's happening. All he has to do is point at the obvious. It's like watching someone proudly declare they've solved world hunger by renaming it food insecurity. That's Bass level logic right there. When she took office, she announced her mission to unite the city. And technically, she did. Everyone. Liberals, conservatives, renters, landlords, even the pigeons are now united in frustration. The city is so united in complaining, it might as well start its own national anthem. But here's the best part, Greg Gutfeld doesn't just mock, he observes. And what he observed was that every one of Bass's plans seems to require more of two things, money and faith. The money comes from taxpayers, and the faith, well, buildings are either abandoned or stuck in development, which is city speak for we ran out of money halfway through. It's like LA has mastered the art of being halfway done, half safe, half clean, half governed.
Karen Bass, best known for going to Ghana while LA burned, just got smoletted. The LA mayor claims ICE kidnapped a migrant mom and held her in a warehouse, hoping she'd self-deport, and adding, quote, "This doesn't make anyone safer." There's just one problem for Karen. The story's a hoax. The so-called victim, a Mexican national, is now facing federal charges for faking her own kidnapping and blaming ICE. The DOJ says Yuriana Calderon staged the whole thing.
Gutfeld called out how the city spends millions on temporary housing projects that move so slowly. By the time they're built, half the homeless population has either moved on or built their own neighborhood nearby. Bass keeps holding ribbon-cutting ceremonies for buildings that only exist on PowerPoint slides. But the true comedy gold? Her relationship with reality. It's on and off, mostly off. Every time crime spikes, she acts surprised, like she just discovered gravity exists. I didn't see this coming, she says, while everyone in LA is screaming, "We did." Greg Gutfeld thrives on irony, and Bass serves it daily. When she claims the city is safer, the LAPD's crime report practically walks on stage asking, "You sure about that?" When she promises a cleaner LA, sanitation workers send postcards from the trenches saying, "We're trying, but we need backup." And then there's her magical ability to make bad news sound inspiring. She'll announce that the city reduced homelessness by 1%. Bass loves to talk about progress, but every time she does, someone's catalytic converter gets stolen mid-sentence.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted endangered fish, I'd say it's the Karen Bass. Her career is up in flames. She called for unity amid this crisis. There is unity. Everybody there thinks you're a full-blown idiot who should resign. I do think you're going to see rage in the next couple of years because you can't fight fire with platitudes, pronouns, and politics. You need practical solutions.
And here's the irony that drives Greg absolutely nuts. Karen Bass has the political calm of a yoga instructor, even as the city collapses like a poorly built set piece. She smiles through chaos, nods through scandals, and gives speeches that sound like they were generated by an AI trained on optimism and denial. When she says things are moving in the right direction, nobody's quite sure what direction that is. Because the only thing moving fast in LA these days is the exodus of people to Texas. Greg joked that soon LA will just be her, the press, and a bunch of electric scooters nobody's charged since 2022. And speaking of those scooters, she once celebrated them as a symbol of sustainability. Now they're scattered across sidewalks like fossilized reminders of failed ideas. It's poetic, really. The city that wanted to be futuristic now looks like the aftermath of a tech startup apocalypse. But instead, it's the kind of place where people hold their breath at every city update, wondering if emergency is part of the title. State of emergency on homelessness. Emergency response to crime.
Everything she says that's horrible, she does with a smile. Have you noticed that?
Yes.
It's weird.
It's freaky, and it's one of those things where it's like, I mean, wouldn't we all want to have this excuse where I would be like, babe, I'm investigating how I went to the strip club as well. I don't know how that happened. It is under investigation. The winds were blowing that way, but I didn't know, and do I have a chainsaw?
Yeah.
Emergency conference on the emergency about too many emergencies. Gutfeld pointed out that Bass doesn't need a communications director. She needs a fire alarm. Still, the most jaw-dropping part of Greg's roast wasn't even about her performance. It was about her confidence. The way she walks into every meeting like she's about to announce a cure for chaos, only to reveal a new study about the chaos instead. She doesn't fix problems. She commissions essays on them. And Gutfeld noticed the pattern. The more she talks talks about improvement, the more the city looks like a live-action before picture. He compared it to watching someone repaint a burning house and calling it renovation. Every decision feels like a bet that optimism can outshout logic. But the real kicker, every time Greg exposes one of her contradictions, her supporters double down like he's the problem. By the time Greg got halfway through his breakdown of Karen Bass's leadership style, it started feeling less like political analysis and more like stand-up comedy disguised as civic education. Because honestly, how do you keep a straight face when the city's biggest plan for crime reduction is hoping it goes away?
Solutions. And the people that offer practical solutions were ignored. Water management, forest management, power line safety, brush clearing, vegetation clearing. You don't fight it with a climate agenda, a DEI agenda, or even a political agenda. And you hear Democrats in the media criticizing Trump and others for speaking out as the tragedy unfolds, as if they don't do it during every mass shooting. But here's the difference. You can't speak out if you were warning people years before.
The funniest part? She talks about bold actions like she's announcing the next Marvel movie, except instead of a hero saving the day, you get another committee with matching tote bags. LA doesn't need another task force, it needs a functioning task. Gutfeld's sarcasm practically writes itself. When Bass talks about reforming law enforcement, every speech she gives sounds like a riddle wrapped in a mission statement. She'll talk for 10 minutes, and nobody knows whether she's increasing funding, cutting funding, or just funding the confusion. It's a talent. Some people juggle fire. Bass juggles contradictions. Whenever something goes wrong, she whips out numbers faster than a Vegas card dealer. Crime is down 2%, she says, conveniently forgetting that it's up 50% from last year. Greg joked that at this point, her statistics department must have a dartboard labeled random facts. And you can't talk about Karen Bass without mentioning her obsession with press optics. She treats every bad headline like a stubborn stain. Just keep spinning and maybe nobody will notice.
But you're right, like the mayor, Karen Bass, she was in Africa at a party. Why was she, who's ever been like, oh, this party sucks, we need Karen Bass? Like, I mean, the last thing you wanted at a party is more Karens, you know?
Gutfeld exposed how her team spends more time crafting the image of progress than actually making it. Because in LA, image isn't everything. It's the only thing. He pointed out the absurdity of how she takes credit for fixing problems that magically improve right before photo ops. Homeless camps cleared a day before her press tour. Miraculous. Cameras off and the tents respawn like it's Grand Theft Auto Downtown Edition. Greg didn't even need to exaggerate. It's practically performance art. He once joked that Bass runs the city like a Hollywood set. Perfect lighting, smiling extras, and nothing real behind the backdrop. As long as it looks like progress, she's happy. The irony? She's the first mayor who could turn a budget deficit into an inspirational story. Gutfeld loves those contradictions. The way Bass talks about transparency while her administration buries bad news faster than potholes. It's the political version of reruns. Same cast, same script, slightly worse acting.
Karen Bass claimed that ICE kidnapped an LA mother on her way to work, but prosecutors say it was a hoax. Karen swears by the story, saying she heard about it from her boyfriend in Chicago.
And then comes her idea of community trust. Nothing says trust like doubling the city budget for consultants, while citizens can't trust their catalytic converters to stay attached overnight. It's poetic irony. She's restoring faith in government by proving why nobody has any. Greg mocked how every one of her town hall meetings sounds like group therapy for policies that don't work. People show up with real concerns, and she gives them motivational speeches about the journey of civic unity. It's like watching a self-help book run for office. He roasted the irony that while she talks about affordable housing, she's surrounded by developers whose definition of affordable requires a 6-figure income and 3 roommates. The whole thing feels like a real estate magic trick. Money disappears, nothing gets built, and the applause sign still flashes. And speaking of applause, Greg noticed how Bass thrives on it. Every new initiative comes with a dramatic unveiling, like she's reinventing the concept of doing her job. He joked that if speeches could fill potholes, LA would have the smoothest roads in America.
With you again for an update on a place that you know very, very well.
The Pacific Palisades, still very fluid. People are desperately trying to get into the neighborhood because we're hearing about looters. We're seeing videos of people on bikes. Maybe they're scoping out neighborhoods where some homes still stand, and they're convinced that there will be easy passage. And people are really desperate to get in, check on their homes. It's still very difficult to access information.
Instead, residents are driving through craters deep enough to qualify as new zip codes. But the most biting part of Gutfeld's roast came when he pointed out how detached Bass seems from everyday reality. When asked about rising costs, she talks about economic momentum. When people mention crime, she brings up restorative justice. Greg said it's like watching someone describe a fire while holding a marshmallow stick. But the real comedy lies in the reactions. Every time Greg skewers her logic, social media lights up. It's that she's perfectly average in a system that rewards pretending things are better than they are. He exposed her not through outrage, but by laughing at the absurdity of it all. Because when your city is this chaotic, you either laugh or cry, and Greg chose to laugh first.